Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei saved Raynare and got massive harem part 2. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Farcast for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. Show me your eye, Raynare. Azazel ordered. Yes. Raynare removed her eye patch and show it to Azazel. There still remains your eye inside, I will remove it first. Azazel said as he put his index finger on the outer side of Raynare's eye. He swiped it down slowly before he put his palm in front of Raynare's left eye socket. He used magic to pull the broken eye out and put it in a small container. Asia, who was watching it, was taken aback when she saw the broken eye. Azazel sees Asia's reaction, deliberately showing it to the helpless little nun, and gets scolded by Hisako before he puts the prosthetic eye to replace Raynare's eye. Okay, prepare for a little sting from the nerves connecting. Azazel warned. Not long after that, the eye became active and executed the starting program and tried to connect the nerves. Ugh. Raynare grunted. It felt like she was pricked by 10,000 needles instantly, but the pain subsided immediately after that. How is it? Azazel asked. It hurt so much. Raynare protested. Well, it is hurt. It doesn't hurt as much as when her eye was stabbed and tortured for days. She tried to look around with it, and it seems to be working like it was intended. Prosthetic eye, huh? That's very cutting-edge technology that humans still develop. To think that the supernatural already completed such an advanced product. Hisako commented. She knew that the current prosthesis eye is only used as decoration and cannot replace the real eye. Hisako decided to take a day off since it will be no good to just leave Asia and Raynare, who are still recuperating, alone, and she gets the chance to see something unusual. With current humans' technology, it will be a long time before a prosthetic eye could replace a real eye. The one I gave to Raynare was imbued with magic and controlled with magic power. Azazel explained. Magic is really cheating, Hisako sighed. Ugh, what features do you put in the prosthetic eye, Azazel-sama? I am practically able to see everyone's aura here. Raynare asked. She was able to see everyone's aura. Azazel's color was white with black spotting here and there, Asia was green aura, and Hisako was light blue and brown aura, while from her own body, Raynare emitting red and white aura. Visualize aura, power recognition, and Hawkeye. Those three should help you considerably, and I expect to collect data from you. Azazel answered while smirking. As you wish. The dragon girl answered by putting the eye patch to cover her artificial eye, since she had no idea how to turn it off, and it got her to think. Azazel's help never came free, and to think that he immediately troubled himself to come here and install the eye on her was something suspicious. By the way, Azazel-sama, you are not here just because you want to put this eye on me, are you? Raynare asked as Azazel took a seat across from her and Hisako, who was still fascinated by the prosthetic eye that was completely working. It's always helpful when you have sharp-minded subordinates. Azazel grinned. Raynare regretted that she asked. I know you need time to recuperate, but I will have you enroll at Kuo Academy to keep an eye on the devils. If something happens to them, war could be inevitable. Azazel explained. War? Yeah, a war that potentially devastating the three factions to extinction. Azazel sighed. But why do devils in Ice's school become important? Hisako asked. Because they are the Devil Lord's little sisters. Rias Gremory is the Devil Lord Surzich Lucifer's little sister, and Sona Citri is the Devil Lord Serapho Leviathan's little sister, and both of them had a tendency to spoil their little sister rotten. If they heard that their sisters were harmed, they would have enough excuse to attack other factions, especially with the Excalibur present here. Azazel explained as he pointed to the Excalibur that was left in the corner of the living room. Asia and Raynare dreaded with the fact that there would be a war, but Hisako took interest in the Devil Lord instead. Serapho. Where did I hear that name before? Hisako muttered to herself. Do you know about Hisako-chan? Azazel asked. Hisako was deep in thought. She definitely knew the name because it was an unusual name combination. Serapho Sona-chan. Hisako finally remembered their meeting with Serapho and Sona, especially what she did to Issei. Just the thought alone made her anger rise. Her anger mixed with killing intent scared everyone present, including the fallen archangel. He never found a human could release that kind of killing intent, not even God was this scary when he decided to leave heaven. Azazel, Asia and Raynare tried to calm her down, luckily she quickly cooled down. She put a bitter smile when she saw traces of fear on the three and apologized. In their heart, they vowed to never piss Hisako off. Hisako-san's killing intent alone could freeze low-rank supernatural creatures. Raynare commented. It was really scary. I'm sorry for you too, I'm easily emotional, Hisako apologized while smiling bitterly. What kind of meeting with Serapho and Sona-chan made you angry with Hisako-chan? Azazel insensitively asked. He was rather curious that a human like Hisako knew one of the Devil Lord's names. Rather than that, Ice and Sona-chan were adorable back there, they even made a promise to marry someday. Hisako changed the topic to the memory she rather fond, but the word promise to marry is bothering Raynare a little. Issei, who was emotionless, promised to marry someone. That sounds wonderful, Hisako-san. Asia said. Did Issei and Sona-chan meet during the summer festival? Azazel asked. Yes, how did you know, Azazel-san? Are they wearing a pendant after the festival? Azazel asked again, it was a specific question that was quite surprising to Hisako. Yes. Hearing Issei's aunt's answer, Azazel laughed, and that made the women confused. He laughed at the coincidence that happened, to think that the boy who was with Sona was Issei. Is there anything funny about Azazel-sama? Raynare asked, and she suspected that Azazel knew something about their relationship. What a small world we live in truly. Azazel muttered in amusement. But from the talk yesterday, it looks like Ice didn't realize that Sona-chan was the one who warned him. Hisako said since there's no way Issei would forget to mention such an important acquaintance. Azazel turned to Raynare with a teasing smile. You still have a chance, Raynare. He said and Raynare's face instantly red. What are you talking about Azazel-sama? She retorted. Hisako muttered as she realized that the former had fallen in love with her nephew. Rather than that, Issei-kun is targeted by the Gremory Devil, and war could be started before Kakebiel finishes his plan. Raynare deliberately changed the topic. What do you mean Raynare? Azazel asked. Issei-kun doesn't have any mercy toward his enemies. If that Gremory is marked as hostile by Issei-kun. Raynare didn't finish her sentence, since she doesn't think to speak about it, but it is enough to imply that the Gremory Devil could be slaughtered by Issei rather than Kakebiel. That's really bad, Hisako-chan called Issei immediately. Azazel ordered immediately. Hisako immediately grabbed her phone and called Issei, hoping that she's not too late. 20 minutes prior. Issei prepared to return home but not as rushed as before. He knew that a devil approached his class, the only male devil around. The devil searched around the class and, relieved that he didn't need to search for him, he quickly approached him. Hello, hi to Issei-kun. Issei raised his head and saw the blonde devil. Who are you? Issei asked as formality. The class became so crowded that Kiba came into contact with Issei, the two princes who never even talked to each other. Some girls even started their delusion about BL between them. I'm Kiba Udo, can you follow me to meet with someone? But you wanted to meet you. Kiba invited him with a smile. If she wanted to meet me, why should she send you instead of coming by herself? Issei asked with a flat tone. Could you just follow me? Issei sighed. Fine. He stood up and followed the blonde devil closely, he needed to be clear with Rias Gremory anyway. They walked toward the old building in the forest area of the school. Issei knew that they used one of the rooms in the old building as their headquarters just like Sona used the student council office, so he never got close to there before. Closer to the building Issei smells the stench of devils etched with a greedy smell, he felt little regret for accepting. They entered the building, it was a dark but clean place. This is the room. Kiba said as they arrived at the big door on the second floor. Kiba knocked on the door. Come in. Kiba then opened the door, revealing a dark room with candles as illumination. Inside it Issei could feel three presences. He entered the room and spotted a devil with long black hair, who had the aura of a mature woman, and the other one was a petite girl with white hair, who was nibbling on her snacks and mysteriously smells like a cat. Welcome. A black-haired devil girl greeted him with a smile planted on her. Issei smelled a peculiar smell coming from her that was similar to Azazel and Raynare used to. Her body is too high for a high school girl, 100 of 100 men would say she's beautiful, and if no gay included. Please sit over here. Issei nodded and walked toward the sofa. In the corner of the room, he heard water showering. Please wait for our butchu to finish her bath. She said while still smiling. Issei just silently tried to relax himself, he decided not to drink the tea or eat the snack prepared on the table for him, though all of it was just normal without poison or drug. Sorry for the wait. The red-haired devil comes out with her hair still wet, she smells like strawberry for her servant, but she smells nasty greed and unhealthy ambition for Issei. Her body shape was no less buxom than the black-haired female devil in the room, but for Issei, she smells nastier than spoiled meat. She smiled as she eyed Issei, thinking that she would grasp the boosted gear to use it for her personal gain. Hello hi to Issei-kun, I'm Rias Gremory. She introduces herself as she sits beside Issei. Since she was failed to obtain him because the fallen angel's failure, now she tried to get him, using her body to entice Issei. The young dragon might devoid of emotions, but his lust is still there, but he able to be in total control of it, since there's no trigger than able to inflate it without his control. Seeing no reaction from him, Himejima Keno entered the fray. Do you two have no shame? Issei asked after seeing unsightly behavior from his two seniors. They both were surprised that Issei didn't faze them by their beauty and buxom body. If you only call me for this then please excuse me. Issei stood up and moved toward the door. Wait. Rias shouted. Is there anything else you wanted about Gremory-senpai? Issei said as he glanced toward the red-haired devil. I want you to be a member of my peerage. Rias said with commanding tone. Issei then straightened his eyesight toward the door. He knew that it came to this, and he has no interest in becoming a devil. No, thank you. I had no interest in becoming a devil, please excuse me. Issei declined with a flat tone. Rias gritted her teeth in anger. She was never declined directly. But she suppressed it so it wouldn't show on her face. If you join my peerage I could grant anything you wish, just name it, and I will grant it for you. Rias tried to charm him using since no human could resist their desire, especially human in their puberty. I don't have any wish that you need to grant it, so no thanks and don't bother me again, since I have no intention to become a devil. Issei repeated the last part. You lowly human. How dare you decline my invitation? Rias shouted in anger. No human ever declined her twice except this one boy. After you failed to make me owe you a favor, you tried to entice me with your body and sweet words of desire, but after revealing your real side, Shitori Kaichu definitely had a better chance to make me join her peerage. Issei said before he resumed his march toward the door. If he wanted to be a devil, a master like Sona would definitely be better than the red-haired devil. Udo. Rias called out the name of his servant. Without any word to answer, he summoned a sword and blocked the door. So now after all of that failed you tried to force me. Issei sighed. You said Sona had the better chance than me, then I will prove that it is wrong. My peerage is superior to Sona's. Rias spouted. Sona? Issei muttered to himself. That was a nostalgic name he never heard for these past years. In his mind, Sona's smile she showed a few days ago and Sona's smile 10 years ago overlapped as they became one. The memories of their meeting flooded the brunette's mind. Sona and Sona, how could it slip from his mind when he was given clues here and there by her? Now he remembered everything. Sona was the girl he met 10 years ago during summer festival. The pendant she gave him a few days ago was a pair of pendant that Issei bought for them to honor their promise to each other. He was really affectionate to the girl that time, but he completely forgot about her because of that incident and he sought to be stronger, so the tragedy doesn't repeat once again. But he never thought that Sona still cherished their promise and her affection toward him for a long time. Seeing Issei just standing there without reaction, Rias became angrier and commanded Udo to attack him. Her knight immediately attacks Issei with his sword, but Issei reacts faster as he smells the hostile smell. I see, you won't let me off peacefully. Issei said with a flat tone, but it was his declaration of enemy. Once he crossed, he won't give any chance for redemption. He swayed his body as necessary to dodge the blade before he countered, his phone ringing. He took his phone out of his pocket. It was a call from his aunt. This was a higher priority for Issei to receive than to massacre his enemies in front of him. Yes madam. Issei answered that he didn't want his enemies to know that he's speaking to his aunt. Feeling mocked that Issei received a phone call in the middle of being attacked, Kiba continuously slashed him without connecting any hit toward his target. Ice, no matter what happens, you cannot kill Gremory Devil and her peerage members. Hisako warned. Issei was confused, but he decided to follow his aunt's request. Affirmative, madam. I heard something swinging, where are you Ice? Hisako asked as she heard the sound. Ah, a senpai decided to test me on a fitness program, don't worry it's just a sword. Issei answered lightly. Return in one piece. Hisako sighed, she knew that right now near Issei the Gremory Devil and her peerage were there, just glad that it was in a nick of time. Affirmative madam. Issei ended his phone call. Sorry, I had more important business than playing along with you. Issei grabbed Kiba's hand and threw him toward Rias, and because of the lack of wariness they impacted and threw softly to the wall. That won't be much damage to each other, since Issei adjusted the power. The Keno and Kaneko were surprised that it happened really quick. Excuse me. Issei said as he didn't even look back. Chase him. The Keno immediately followed him, while the youngest devil immediately jumped off the window to block the door toward the outside. Kiba immediately stood up, he also jumped from the window. Fighting outside without many obstacles would give him an advantage. The Keno, who followed Issei from inside, saw him walking without a rush, like he felt there's nothing that could harm him there. Stop. A Keno yelled and Issei did as she yelled. He turned his body to meet face to face with his senior. He quietly put invisible barriers around them mostly to avoid voice from leaking, but he felt that Gremory wasn't trying to chase him and stayed in the room. I have important business to take care of, so please be quick. If you want to ask why I didn't react to your boobs you swung around earlier, because I had no such interest in someone who sold her body to get what she wanted, then act like she was all the greatness of the world. Issei answered with what was on his mind, surprising Akeno, but she was not here for that. I found someone who can respect a decline is more appealing like Shitori Kaichu. Issei continued. So Sona already offered you, why would you decline it if she's more appealing? Akeno asked as she doesn't understand his preference. I already said to someone who respects decline, I don't have any interest in becoming a devil. That was what I already said to Shitori Kaichu and she respects it. I tried to convey that to your king, but it looked like she didn't want to listen. Issei explained. From the fight against Yudo earlier, Akeno knew little of his strength. To perfectly dodge a sword attack while accepting a phone call, it would require a great deal of concentration and speed. The current host of boosted gear is strong and trained, he would be a good addition for Ria's plan. Akeno tried to appeal for Rias once again, but her intention was read by him. If you want to appeal to me about your king, please refrain from doing so. I had enough to see her real side. Issei said in a neutral tone. Akeno was surprised that this boy also can read intention, but the way he declined was mostly because Rias mocked him. But people can change. Akeno muttered. Yes, people can change, but I won't change my opinion of her, because she already shows what's the real side. She doesn't even see me as her equal, I'm just lowly human after all. Issei said. But she treated us with kindness and affection. Akeno said, trying to change his opinion. Issei sighed, I don't know what kind of favor you owe her, but after being told that I'm a lowly human, do you think I will believe that her kindness and affection toward me is real? He asked with a flat tone. Akeno was troubled, the boy decided to decline her king because of her own recklessness. Seeing the devil's confusion, Issei decided to ask, I ask you this, if you are without your power, do you think she will put you into her peerage? He asked. What are you implying? Akeno asked in a little angry tone, thinking that Issei tried to mock Rias. You should know why she wanted my sacred gear so badly, right? Issei asked and Akeno replied with a nod. Then try to ask yourself, if you don't have the vast magic power that belongs to the race you've abandoned, do you think she would put you on her peerage? Issei asked again. He felt that her magic prowess is few times stronger than Raynare before he converted her into the dragon. The devil widened her eyes in shock. The young dragon knew that she was a half-fallen angel, the blood she rejected out of hatred to her father, who wasn't able to be at her side when her mother was killed by her own relatives. No one except Rias and her peerage know that she's a former half-fallen. How do you know? She asked, but Issei decided to ignore it. Their king, Rias Gremory, tried to take advantage of the Raynare-san who approached me with desire that she would kill me and give Gremory a chance so she could reincarnate me as her servant. Why do you think that she didn't do the same to you or that handsome or that kitten? Issei asked. Akeno became angry, her savior was mocked, she never felt that she was manipulated to join Rias. She also saved Kaneko when she was almost executed for a crime she didn't do, and she saved Yudo from dying. But his words left a doubt in her heart. Seeing the confusion, Issei cancelled his barrier and moved toward the door. He needed to go home quickly as his aunt requested. Akeno was confused by his action, he just left her like that as if he doesn't hold any interest in anything. But, it was something that piqued her interest in him as it stimulated her trait. If you want to leave, use the back door. Kaneko-chan and Yudo-kun are waiting at the front door. Akeno warned, rather than warning, it was something she did so he wouldn't harm Kaneko and Yudo. Thank you. Issei said before he changed his course toward the back door. I apologize, he ran away from the back door and left before we could give chase. Akeno apologized as she bowed her head. Kiba and Kaneko, who lined up with her, also did the same. She could feel that her king's foul mood was worsening since she failed to grasp the important piece of her plan. Let's think of another way to get him later, for now we have a more important matter. Rias snorted loudly. Important matter? Kaneko muttered. I received an intel that a nun with twilight healing sacred gear that is able to heal even the devil arrived at this city. Apparently she was exiled because she could heal a devil and was under the protection of a fallen angel. Rias explained briefly. Akeno, who started to doubt her king, casted her eyes down. She knew that her king needed power that would rival the immortal devil to break her engagement, but what would she do after that? What's wrong with Akeno? Rias, who noticed Akeno's strange behavior, asked. Akeno smiled, nothing's wrong, but you. She answered while giggling. If that is so, we will move later during the full moon. Apparently they will start a ritual to remove her sacred gear. I will use that opportunity to make her my bishop. They don't know that the fallen angels no longer exist in the church, and the ritual was cancelled. Walking out of the forest, Issei met with a girl, standing there as if waiting for him. Good to see you in perfect condition, Haidu-kun. The girl said with a sarcastic tone. It seems she still held a grudge toward him for hurting her king. Good afternoon, Shinra Fukakechu. Issei greeted her. The bespectacled girl seemed upset when her sarcasm didn't reach Issei. Aichu was worried when she heard that you accepted Rias-san's invitation. I see, please tell her that I'm sorry to worry her. Issei apologized, he made Sona worried again. Also, please tell her that I will come to visit tomorrow or the day after, I had important things to tell her privately. Understood, but if you hurt her again, I swear I will paint the ground red with your blood. Tsubaki threatened him with no small amount of bloodlust, though not as strong as when Hisako learned that he picked Asia up by kidnapping her. But Issei cannot mark her as hostile, her intention is purely because she cares about Sona. Tsubaki was Issei's replacement, or at least how she saw herself. Because of Sona's brilliance she was given the evil pieces early at age of 8, when the others usually get it at age 12, right after receiving it, she immediately went to the address Issei gave her. But what's waiting for her was not what she expected. Issei's parents were murdered and he moved somewhere. She returned home heartbroken because she couldn't meet him. Naturally Serafol deployed her peerage and Citri servants to search for Issei, but was no avail. He was not found because they overlook Kuo City, where there was a dispute between the devil who governed the territory before Rias and Sona with the exorcist from church. Because he wasn't found, Sona gave up the idea of making Issei her queen. Then she met Tsubaki, a child who was abandoned by the famous Shinra family, one of pillar families that supported Japan, all because of her excessive power to summon spirits from the mirror, her sacred gear. But she was not completely abandoned, just she moved to be taken care of by a branch family. Sona and Tsubaki met purely by coincidence, they met at a festival just like her meeting with Issei. Sona thought maybe it was fate. Sona negotiated a few times before Tsubaki finally accepted her proposal. She moved into the Citri residence to serve her duty as Sona's queen. Few times she caught sight of Sona dazing toward the pseudo-moon in the underworld while grasping her necklace. Tsubaki didn't understand her behavior, but she had no courage to ask. Until Serafol slipped her tongue and told the story about them, naturally she became jealous of Issei yet at same time pitying him because he was orphaned. Sona, who dreamed of building a school where equality of the students is guaranteed or at least not very visible discrimination in the underworld, went to school in Japan to study the education system, joining territory with Rias, since the one who governed Kuo before was passed away. 1 year went without many troubles, and during their second year, Tsubaki finally met with the Issei person in person. Her first impression of him was empty and void. He never talked much, only opened his mouth to answer, despite the fact that he was pretty popular with the girls. Did Sona really fall in love with a boy with this kind of personality, Tsubaki thought. And a few days ago, he came and accused Sona of a test. Tsubaki was instantly angered by that, how he can accuse such things just because Sona is a devil. But he apologized with tone that seems making him doesn't sound like he's really apologizing, but his apology was genuine. Even then Tsubaki cannot easily accept that, because she cannot stand to be a replacement for such guy and the black-haired king still longing for him, directing him as source of her happiness. That's why she threatened to say, Sona already endured for a long time, even when she was completely forgotten by him. She also deserves happiness. I'll try not to hurt her as much as possible, Issei said before walking past Tsubaki, leaving her dumbfounded. By the time she turned around after Issei passed over her, he was already gone. Issei arrived at home and was immediately surrounded by his aunt and the girls. They were worried if Issei would be hurt even when Azazel assured them that Issei would be fine. I had good news, starting tomorrow Raynare and Asia-chan will enroll at Kuo. Azazel grinned widely. Me too. Asia was surprised that she will enroll in a school. Of course Asia-chan, it would be a lot safer if you stay close to Issei and Raynare, rather than alone here. Thank you Azazel-sama, Asia said as she started to cry out of happiness that she will study at school, something that she had wanted for a long time ago. You will make a lot of good friends in Asia-chan. Hisako said as she stroked Asia's hair to calm her down. Yes. Asia, use this bracelet while you stay here and these glasses to help you understand the letters here. Azazel said as he took out a silver bracelet with simple design and rectangular glasses. This is too much for me, Azazel-sama. No worries, this is just something I made during my free time. Asia accepted and immediately wore the bracelet and the glasses, then Azazel instructed Raynare to try to see with her new eye. Her aura changed to normal light blue, it was perfectly green before. Raynare told the result. Then the bracelet works as intended. Thank you very much Azazel-sama. Raynare becomes suspicious of something. If the light blue aura is the human standard, then Hisako, whose aura is light blue mixed with brown, might not be a normal human. But she decided to not say anything as it might be a rare case to have some sort of element inside a human. By the way, Issei's aura is completely red as he hosted the boosted gear. I can understand why you enroll in Asia-san, but I can't see why with Raynare-san. Issei asked. I gave a mission to Raynare to keep an eye on the devils, especially on Rias Gremory and Sona Citri. Azazel answered. So Shitori Kaichu really Sona-chan huh? Issei said as he took out the pendant Sona gave to him from his pocket. Why do you have that pendant Issei? Hisako asked. It was the same pendant Sona wore, the pair one with Issei's. She gave it to me a few days ago. She said this is her protective charm. Even after all these years, she still holds that childish promise, and I'm just the worst to think I completely forgot her like that, Issei said with a flat tone, but they all knew it was packed with self-hate and clearly that he was feeling guilty about Sona. His aura also looks restless in Raynare's eye, then she puts her hand gently over his hand to calm Issei down. Listen to me, Issei-kun, don't ever say what you already planned to tell her. Raynare said. Issei was surprised, and the others looked confused with what Raynare just said. Raynare knew that most likely Issei would reject Sona, but as a girl, she could feel how hurt she would be if those rejection words came from his mouth. From how Issei spoke earlier, Raynare knew that the Citriere is still longing for him. So she decided to help her a little because she likes how pure she is even though she's a devil, though she didn't like to share Issei with another. In the end, Issei was the one who should decide about it and she will accept anything he decides. You shouldn't hurt her like that. Raynare emphasized the shouldn't part. Even when Issei's expression didn't change, his aura is a lot calmer than before. Yes, he muttered his answer. Good. Looks like Raynare already got your reins, Issei. Azazel smirked as he watched a couple of teenagers. Raynare immediately removed her hand from Issei's and blushing while looking downward. Everyone except Issei and Raynare are laughing in amusement. Hisako secretly glad that Raynare is there for Issei. Where's your necklace, Issei? I kept it in my desk drawer. And Hisako told me to keep it in a safe place since it was almost broken, but I completely forgot about it. Bring it here, I will enhance it a little. Issei went to his room and picked his necklace. It has the same design as Sona's pendant, but instead of a blue-colored gem, it was a red-colored gem. Azazel then enhanced the necklaces with some kind of spell. Return this to Sona-chan tomorrow, make sure she wears it, and be sure to wear yours all the time. Issei nodded and he put his pendant on. What spell do you put in the necklaces? Issei asked. Little insurance for the future. After Azazel and Hisako went out, he invited Hisako for a date and she gladly accepted the invitation, leaving Issei with Raynare and Asia. Since it was a rare occasion, Issei brought Raynare and Asia around the apartment complex, since Asia got lost easily. During dinner time, Raynare suggested bringing Asia to a fast food restaurant. It was her first time at a fast food restaurant. She was confused about how to eat a hamburger, since there were no eating utensils available. The older girl showed her how to enjoy the hamburger at that fast food restaurant. She quickly unwrapped half of the burger and ate it with a small bite. Asia was astonished briefly before copying Raynare to eat the burger. The scenes before him were something nostalgic to Issei. He never went to fast food restaurants anymore after Irina went to England. After eating they went to stroll a bit more around the city before returning home. Issei noticed that Hisako changed. No one but Issei noticed it, so he decided not to ask. Four figures marched toward the old building on the hill. They were faster than human running. Arriving near the entrance, they hid themselves among the trees to examine the situation. Yet, the situation is abnormal. The building feels dead as if there's no one inside. But the church feels too cold as if no one is using it as a base. Kaneko said as she couldn't feel any living being inside. Did they already run? Let's check it, we can't let the opportunity go, we need a healer. Rias declared. Yes. Three of them nodded. The four entered the building that was wide open. They slowly marched inside the building that was void of presence until a pungent smell entered their nostril. What is this smell? Rias said as she pinched her nose. Smells like rotten meat. They continue to move until the red-haired devil stumbles upon something. What is th? She was perplexed when she looked at the thing she almost stumbled on. It was a rotten hand that chopped off from someone's body. Seeing the body part that rotted, an uneasy feeling crept to her spine. Quick, we have to check the underground. Three of them nodded and moved toward the underground facility. They searched every room, but found that there's no one there. Looks like this church is already empty, but we are too late. They already ran away from here when someone raided this church. Rias shouted in anger. She thought that someone was also aware of the existence of the nun and raided the church before her. Find a weakness of that boosted gear host. Made sure he submitted to me. She directed her attention back to Issei now that she failed to obtain Asia or more appropriately, her sacred gear. If I'm not wrong, he lives with his aunt. Then let's kidnap her to make him join me. The Kendo narrowed her eyes toward her king. She never thought that Rias would do anything to obtain Issei. Her doubt continued to swell and had no sign of stopping. Yes, but They left the abandoned church while thinking about how to kidnap Hisako. The next day, while Gremory Peerage was absent because they planned something bad, 2 transfer students entered the school without problem. Good morning, class, we had transfer students here. The class became crowded immediately, especially the boys. Issei didn't know how Azazel pulled strings that allowed them to transfer to his class, but it happened. The first to enter the class was a black-haired beauty who wore an eye patch. She looks rather like a youth that suffered from the complex. And following her was a blonde foreigner fidgeting because she was a bit nervous to enter the class and meet with many people around her age. Her cuteness increased by many folds because of the glasses she wore. Please introduce yourself. Hello everyone, I'm Amano Yuma, nice to meet you all. Raynare cheerfully introduces herself as Yuma. Her smile had already charmed most of the boys at first sight. I am Asia Argento, I just moved from Italy and attend this school, please look after me. Asia nervously introduced herself as she is nervous being looked by many people, making the boys shout at MOE in their heart while their expression loosened. We got a foreigner and a beautiful girl. The class became even more crowded than before, with the teacher unable to control them immediately. Is there anyone who wants to ask them a question or two to know more about them? The boys immediately raised their hands. Issei can predict what they want to ask by their pheromones. They released a roused smell. Issei wanted to smack them who lusting for Raynare and Asia one by one, but luckily the teacher chose one of the girls to ask. The one given chance to ask was Mirai Amichidis, the ace of Kendo club, as well as the class rep. Amano-san, why are you wearing an eye patch? She asked. As Raynare predicted yesterday, the first or second question would be regarding her eye patch, after all humans are curious creatures. Raynare giggled, which creeping most of the students since she did it suddenly. Behind this seal lies a great power that no human should see, as demise will visit them. It was my symbol of sin that made me fallen and expelled from the heaven as I fallen in love with the Red Dragon Emperor. Raynare said with a low voice while posing extravagantly. Or something like that. She said with her usual tone while changing her pose to cute one. I have different eye colors, you see. I'm rather troubled when someone starts asking about it when they see it, so I put on an eye patch and say that I had eye disease. Raynare said as she removed her eye patch. Her iris color was green instead of purple. It corresponded toward her dragon organs rather than her original, so the color matched with Boosted Gear's orb. Using this opportunity, she inspected the classmates. All of the boys and girls except Issei were normal light blue colored without addition like Hisako's. The whole class was speechless seeing her eyes. It was a contrasting difference to each other, purple and green. I'm sorry, this eye is a bit sensitive to light, so I can't show it for long. Raynare said, put the eye patch back. She felt slight pain from using it for a short duration. Thanks for your unique introduction, Amano-san. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question? For Argento-san maybe? The teacher asked. They vigorously raised their hand, especially the boys, but there's a particular girl who raised her hand gracefully, and the teacher didn't miss it and chose her. Yes, Kiryu-san, you may ask. The girl called Aika Kiryu was labeled as a peerless pervert among the girls. Her favorite hobby was destroying the boys' confidence with the girls. Well, the ones she harassed mainly were the perverts. Earlier I saw you two walking together with Haidu-kun. I was wondering what kind of relationship you had with him. It was a direct question that represented the curiosity of the class. Issei-san was my relative, Asia answered with shy tone. Her setting was Issei's relative from overseas, but on the other hand, I cannot live without Issei-kun, my body and heart already belong to him. Raynare declared while blushing and acted cute in front of the class. What she said is true, but teenage youths will interpret it differently. The girls were blushing hard, even Kiryu the female pervert also blushing, and the boys started chorusing curse toward Issei, the female teacher also blushing from perverted delusion. It took the homeroom period before they stopped the crowd. It was very hectic morning, yet Issei only able to sigh. Throughout the class period until lunch, he couldn't feel any of the Grimmery Peerage members. He assumed that it was safe to leave Raynare and Asia to meet with Sona, since they were surrounded by the classmates who were curious about them. In the student council office, Sona was alone. It seems that they went on patrol or something, but the truth is they are spying on Issei. They were curious about what Issei will talk to Sona since Tsubaki informed them when everyone was present yesterday. Excuse me. Come in. Issei opened the door and found Sona was alone in the room, reading some documents. Come to Haidu-kun, I'm already expecting you. Sona welcomed Issei as she put the document down and moved to the table to welcome guests. Yes. Issei answered as he entered the room and closed the door. He sat in front of Sona again, just like their previous meetings. So, why do you want to speak with me in private, Haidu-kun? Sona asked. She was rather curious when Tsubaki informed her that Issei wanted to meet her privately. Issei took out Sona's pendant. I'd come to return this to you, Sona-chan. He said. He called her just like when they met 10 years ago. It was a proof that Issei already remembered her. Sona was happy when she heard it. You already remembered Ice-kun? Sona smiled as she said that. Issei nodded to confirm it, and sweet smells released even more from Sona. I'm really sorry, Sona-chan, I'm just the worst kind of guy, Issei said with a flat tone. Sona shook her head. It can't be helped with your circumstances. Ice-kun, you must be really shaken because your parents were killed in front of you, Sona said with a sad tone. You have changed a lot. You used to be cute, but now you have become this beautiful. Issei praised Sona, making her deep blush. You two are even more manly than before, if you are able to smile I would be troubled with many girls flocking on you. Sona returned the praise that caught off her guard, she never thought that Issei would praise her like that. He did just like Raynare taught her, to praise her before apologizing. I apologize Sona-chan with my current condition, I don't think I could fulfill our promise. Issei apologized while bowing deeply. He expected a sad smell from Sona, but instead she released a happy smell. Sona knew that if Issei remembered her, apologizing for not fulfilling their promise would be the first thing he told her if he doesn't change from 10 years ago when they didn't meet. I'm glad that the kind and gentle Ice-kun is still there. Sona said as she leaned forward to stroke Issei's head who was still bowing. He didn't expect such a thing would happen. Raise your head Ice-kun. Sona said as she was already satisfied with stroking his hair. He did as she asked and found her smiling fondly toward him. A zombie would not care about others feeling Ice-kun, you are still a human, even though you are a dragon now. Sona said. Issei was surprised that Sona found out that he's no longer human but a dragon. She stood up from her seat and moved toward Issei. And Sona muttered as she sat on Issei's lap, seeming like she's turned into a spoiled child as she couldn't hold back her feelings anymore. I'm happy just being able to be close and talk to you. So this time don't leave without saying anything again okay, Sona smiled, while in the corner of her eye tears were welling. I promise. Issei smiles a little, he was relieved that Sona took this rather well, if not for Raynare's help, this won't end well. So you can smile like that too, Ice-kun. Here's your necklace, Sona-chan, I will put it on you. Please. Issei put the necklace on Sona, he didn't know what kind of spell Azazel put on the necklace, but if it harms Sona in any way, he will make sure that he will pay it dearly, even if he will be his uncle. By the way Ice-kun, I heard from Tsubasa earlier that she heard that you raped someone to submission, is that true? Sona asked with a smile, but her body released angry pheromones. No, I never sleep with anyone yet, Raynare-san just pranking them. Issei explained. Raynare? Isn't that fallen angel who tried to kill you? How she could enter the barrier without noticing me, Sona panicked as she thought that a fallen angel found the releasing algorithm for her barrier around the school. She doesn't know that the barrier didn't react because she isn't a fallen angel anymore. No matter how she entered the barrier, I assure you that she will not harm anyone here, I will be the one who stops her before that happens. Even Rias. Though I am reluctant to admit it and do it, yes. Sona sighed. Sona knew that Issei was called by Rias and being seduced, she had her familiar to follow him after Momo reported that she saw Issei and Yuta walk together toward the forest. If she did anything to you or Hisako-san, tell me immediately, I'll help you. Sona offered. Thanks Sona-chan, I will inform you if she did something to us. Issei answered. And would you give me permission to resurrect you as the devil if someday you were killed or something like that happened? Sona reluctantly asked, she knew that she already accepted Issei's decline and not to bring that again, but this time she doesn't want to let Issei to be away again. I hope none of that happened, but yes, I leave it to you Sona-chan. Sona was happy that Issei accepted it, she also hoped that it would never come to that. Thank you Ice-kun. Sona turned her body and kissed Issei on the cheek. By the way Sona-chan, are you fine in this position? Issei asked insensitively. Sona right now is sitting on Issei's lap, something inappropriate to do in school. She's a student council president, if anyone else saw this it would be bad gossip. Sona giggled at his question. It is too late to ask that you know, we are being watched from the start, aren't we? She asked, she knew that her peerage was watching from the door. Yes. Don't worry, I will give them appropriate punishment for peeping on us. Sona said loud enough for the ones peeping to hear and made them shriek in panic. After all Sona was a strict person to begin with. Ugh, finally my work is over Hisako said as she stretched her body after finishing her work, there's some time left before the work hour is over, so she decided to take a rest. Good work Hisako-senpai, do you want tea first before leaving? Hisako turned and found her coworker Unami offered to make her some tea. Thank you Yu-chan, I'll take your offer. Hisako answered, and Unami took her cup and made a cup of tea. Did something happen to Issei-kun Hisako-senpai, you are out of it today? Unami asked as she worried that Hisako seemed not to be herself lately. Hisako shook her head, nah, I still the same, or rather I started to think lately how long I can work like this. Hisako casted her line of sight on her tea, after all her condition right now is not something to be discussed with normal humans. Unami worried what Hisako muttered, her lines looked like she was sick, are you sick? Don't tell me you had chronic disease. Unami asked worriedly. I'm not sick, it's just never mind Yu-chan. Hisako made the situation awkward between them, and her coworker became even more worried. If you have trouble you can consult me, Hisako-senpai. She offered, after all Hisako was her closest coworker and friend. Hisako smiled, she thought that she shouldn't involve the Uenami with her problem, since it would endanger her life. She drank the tea in one go. Yeah, I would Yu-chan, good luck with your overtime. Hisako stood up to leave, while Uenami sighed because she still had work to finish. Don't make me remember. Hisako left her office and walked toward home. Then she noticed that there were less people around until none, even though it should be around the end of office hour, until she felt 3 presences surrounding her. I think that they resorted to this quickly, just as Azazel-san predicted. Hisako muttered to herself. Yesterday during the date with Azazel, she was told that sooner or later she will be targeted by Gremory, since she's a person who is very important to Issei. Hisako was told to keep it a secret from Issei, since there will be a good chance that he will immediately lash out before the kidnapping is carried out. Azazel didn't want Issei to slaughter the Gremory immediately because he doesn't want Himejima Akeno, Rias' queen, to be harmed because she's his friend's daughter. Thanks to Issei that he weakened Akeno's trust toward Rias despite not knowing anything, Azazel formed a plan to retrieve her, and that requires Hisako to be kidnapped by them. Akeno most likely will be assigned as the guard to prevent Hisako to escape, since she is well versed in any magic, though she's strong at thunder magic thanks to her father's blood, as well as because she's a queen, the most trusted and loyal person to the king. In front of Hisako appeared the blonde knight who is smiling and white-haired Rook with stern look. She is aware that behind her there's someone else, the target Akeno. Good afternoon. Kiba greeted her politely. Good afternoon. We are sorry, but we have to take you away. Pardon? Hisako faked a puzzled look, and from behind she felt a strong jolt that made her almost lose consciousness. Udo-kun, Kaneko-chan, informs us that we have already secured our target, so I will hide her as planned. Yes, please be careful, Akeno-san. Kiba said before he and Kaneko disappeared into the magic circle. I'm really sorry, Akeno muttered as she piggybacked Hisako before using a magic circle to teleport to the safe house. Unknown to Akeno, Hisako placed her hand to the pressure point that was able to paralyze Akeno's body behind her neck. You're too inexperienced in kidnapping, Akeno-chan. Hisako muttered as she applied pressure to the point, and instantly, Akeno's body lost strength and fell to the floor, but Hisako managed to hold her up before she impacted the ground and applied another tap on the pressure point that completely cut off her magic flow. Instantly Akeno's heart filled with terror and fear. The situation was reversed for her. She never expected that Hisako could endure the stun gun jolt she applied and even subdued her like this. It's been a while since Akeno-chan, last time we met was before Shuri Nisama was murdered, wasn't it? Akeno was surprised that the woman who paralyzed her knew about her mother, and among the people she acquainted with, only one called her mother with Nisama, and she now carried her body in Princess Carry toward a nearby park while maintaining a barrier to search for a chair to let Akeno sit. Hisako-sama. That's right. Akeno became scared even more. Hisako was her mother's acquaintance. Her mother and Hisako were so close that Hisako called her mother with Nisama. She doesn't know that Hisako was Issei's aunt. Shiki was one of protector families of Himejima, though called protector family, most of them are inferior in ability compared to them, except for one girl, said to be a genius that is born once every 500 years, Hisako. But her relationship with her family was rather bad. She hated their way of being able to throw away their own child if they were deemed incompetent, and one of them was Issei's mother, who she was particularly close to. She was exiled because she lacked talent and spiritual energy. If Hisako was not a stranger to the supernatural, why doesn't she know about Azazel and the others? Simple, she sealed her memories regarding the supernatural, so she could raise Issei without letting him clash with the supernatural world, but it was kind of a failure because Issei still dragged into it because he owned the boosted gear. Yesterday during the date, Azazel unsealed her memories. The first thing she said after unsealing her memory was "Serve you right, old fools." For calling Ice the child of a failure. She quite resented her own family. Hisako already learned how strong Issei is, none of the Shiki stronger than she was, and Issei was much stronger than on par with the Archangel. She volunteered to help Azazel to retrieve Akeno, because Akeno was someone she failed to protect that day. Why are you here? Akeno asked in fear. She was scared that she would be returned to Himejima to be executed. I'm here to raise Ice far away from those old fools. I cut myself from that useless family who can throw their own blood and flesh just because they are little weak, unlike the Himejima who will never did that even though they broke a rule or something taboo, except for killing another clan member. Hisako spewed hate toward her family and her admiration toward Himejima. After all, she was stationed to protect Shuri, who broke the taboo and married a fallen angel. Akeno's thought couldn't process what she just heard, that she and her mother were never abandoned by the Himejima. The one who killed mother was Grand Uncle Koichi-sama. There's no way what you said is true, Hisako-sama. Akeno tried to deny Hisako. She was hunted by Himejima. She cannot easily believe that she, in fact, was never abandoned. Your grand-uncle, Koichi-sama, already passed away a month before Shuri-sama was murdered. They are imposters. Hisako answered since she was also forced to attend the funeral. While it is true that he disapproved of Shuri and clearly disdained her, he would never assassinate another Himejima. If you knew that they were imposters, why didn't you stop them? Akeno shouted in anger, even though she knew if she angered Hisako right now, she couldn't do anything to run because she was completely paralyzed from neck to below, and her magic circulation was cut off, but she couldn't help it, she was supposed to protect them. Because numerous stray devils suddenly emerged in town, I had to move to repel them, or the casualties among the innocents would be very enormous, and few guards that remained to protect you were dead when I returned. Heck, if your father didn't arrive on time, I won't survive either. And those imposters were devils disguised in priest clothing. Hisako explained, even though she was called genius, but in the end, she's still a young human. She only could widen her eyes when lightning struck down from sky, killing the stray devils in one hit. They returned together toward the shrine where Akeno and Shuri live, only to find out that Shuri was already dead and Akeno was kidnapped. Barakiel, who was drowning in sadness that his wife was killed, slaughtered the remaining imposters with his holy lightning and immediately set off to search for Akeno. Hisako, who stayed because of exhaustion, inspected the imposters' remaining bodies. They disintegrated more than they should. Hisako then used magic to detect the trace of their magic's characteristics and found that they used demonic energy of the devil. Devils? Akeno muttered. Yeah, you were led by them to join Ria's grimoire. Hisako came to that conclusion herself when the dots connected by itself. Akeno angered even more, she thought that it was fabricated to make her savior look bad. I don't believe you. She saved my life when I was almost killed. Hisako just smiled, she knew that it would not be easy since she was manipulated to believe that Rias is her savior. How many of them tried to kill you, and how many of them stopped you from getting killed? Hisako asked. There were a dozen people with Grand Uncle, and the one who stopped them were only Rias and Agrippa-sama, Ria's father's bishop. Akeno was confused by her question but still answered truthfully. If I were the Grand Uncle, though he is already dead, I would kill you on the spot, even if they try to stop me, even though she's a devil princess. Do you think she and a servant could stop a dozen people from killing you? Hisako asked logically. Akeno was visibly shaken, though there were some facts that she couldn't verify. Hisako didn't look like she lied to her, in fact her words are very convincing. Akeno, who already doubted Rias because of Issei, cannot hold her doubt from exploding. The trust she had in Rias was shaved thin. So I was deceived. All this time I was deceived by Rias and her family. I don't know, I never met her nor her parents. But I swear to you, I didn't lie to you, and what I said about you being manipulated by Ria's grimoire was my own assumption from the facts I knew and presented to me. Hisako shook her head before saying that to Akeno. She stared through Akeno's eyes, telling the young lady that she didn't lie at all. Let's just say Himejima wanted to eliminate you to cleanse their blood. They don't have reason to kill Shuri-sama, even though you were protected by your mother with her body. She can be incapacitated with stun gun or something similar to what you just did to me. Hisako explained. At that moment, Akeno didn't understand who she should believe anymore. She blamed her father for leaving her mother to die and be saved by Rias, only to find out that it all was a lie. She was targeted for her power, giving her a good treatment so she would be comfortable and willing to lend her power as payback. Tears flowed down, wetting her cheeks. She couldn't hold back her feelings anymore. She lamented at her powerlessness. She started to blame herself, for she was the reason for her mother to be murdered. Seeing Akeno crying, Hisako hugged her tight. The older woman also felt responsibility for letting the girl's mother to die. She even abandoned her because she prioritized Issei. But when she was given chance to save Akeno, who she failed to protect years ago, she volunteered to help Azazel to save Akeno. You and your mother were just victims. Akeno-chan, I'm sorry I failed to protect you and your mother. Hisako whispered as tears also fell from her eyes. Hearing that, Akeno starts crying her heart out. After that, she determined her heart to repair Rias for everything she had done to her. Hisako, who had already finished her task, called Azazel to pick them up. Not to forget, she released Akeno from the paralysis she applied on her. Yo, Hisako-chan. Azazel greeted Hisako after he materialized from the magic circle. Akeno was surprised that Azazel appeared here. Uncle Azazel, Akeno muttered. It's been a while since Akeno-chan. Azazel smiled toward Akeno. Uncle Azazel, please help me to take my revenge on Rias. She killed mother and deceived me. Akeno asked in a loud voice. Calm down first, Akeno-chan, taking revenge won't return your mother, though I said that, if Hisako-chan murdered like Shuri I would flip. Azazel grinned. Eh? Akeno muttered, she doesn't understand what he meant. Hisako-chan over there will be my wife. Azazel answered. Eh? Akeno screamed, she couldn't believe that Azazel would marry someone. No one who knows Azazel would believe that if they heard rumors because of his behavior. She was surprised hard enough to let go of her hatred for an instant. Azazel laughed while Hisako sighed because he just wanted to tease Akeno. Let's go back, we talk more in Hisako-chan's home. Azazel summoned a magic circle that transferred them to Hisako's apartment, where Issei and the girls were waiting in worry. Seeing Akeno among them, Issei leaped toward the girl with his fist clenched. You. Issei hissed as he thrust his fist forward. Reflectively, Akeno closed her eyes and cowered, but the hit never impacted her as Hisako and Azazel caught his arm. Calm down, Ice, she's not here to make ruckus. Hisako tried to calm Issei down. She understood his action, but she cannot allow Akeno to be hurt. Sorry, Issei, only this one I won't allow you to hurt even though you are hostile toward her. Azazel said while smiling. He cannot allow the one he thought his niece to be hurt in front of his eyes. Why is she here anyway? Issei asked with resentment in his tone. Akeno, who was recovered from the shock, bowed her head. Even though she was ordered by Rias, she still did it, making her commit the same crime as her king. I'm really sorry, Haidu-kun, I don't care what you will do to me, but I beg you to do that after I take my revenge on Rias. She declared, still bound toward Issei. Issei didn't smell any lies from her, and he saw Hisako actually concerned toward her. Fine, I don't know what happened earlier, but if you do something similar to this to anyone in this room, I will kill you. Issei declared with a flat tone. He pulled his fist that was still locked by Hisako and Azazel. He didn't know that her aunt was actually strong enough to stop him, even when he held back his power. I swear I won't and have learned my lesson. Akeno replied. I believe Issei had no more trouble with Akeno-chan being here, so let's discuss something important. Azazel smiled. Azazel then sat at the single-seat sofa. Hisako and Akeno sat on the double-seated sofa on his left. Issei and Asia sat on the double-seated sofa on his right, while Raynare sat on the edge of the sofa next to Issei. Now we will start discussion on how to punish Rias Gremory. Azazel officially opened the discussion. First, let's hear why she wanted Issei-kun so badly that she tried to kidnap Hisako-san. Raynare said as she glanced toward Akeno. She was genuinely angered earlier when the invitation filled with threat came from Gremory. She really wanted to tear the devil in pieces earlier if she didn't stop by Azazel, who calmly calmed them, saying that Hisako is alright and she's not everyone thought she would be. With the course of events earlier, her suspicion of Hisako not being a normal person was proven. She could stop Issei's fist that Raynare cannot see being swung earlier. Gremory wanted power to oppose her fiancé, Riser Phoenix in raiding games, so she could break her engagement. I guess not only Haidu-kun, but all of us too, Akeno answered before she lowered her head, slightly depressed from the thought that she was only a tool for Rias to break her engagement. Riser Phoenix, the third son of the Phoenix family, who is said to have the same immortality as the divine beast Phoenix. And his personality, the easiest word to describe him, is an asshole. Azazel explained. Shall we marry her off? Raynare suggested, making the thing she absolutely hates to happen should be a good punishment. Good idea, Raynare. Does anyone have another good suggestion? Even though I would like to take revenge directly, I believe marrying her off to Razor would be sufficient punishment. Akeno agreed with marrying Rias to Razor, and the others didn't raise any objection. The room becomes silent as everyone is thinking about their plan to marry Rias off, except one girl who cannot think badly of others. I found a good idea, but are you willing to help Issei? Azazel glanced toward Issei. Azazel is a leader for centuries. He cooks up a plan faster than anyone present. His experience and wisdom are far more than the others. Sure, I will make sure that she'll pay dearly for trying to kidnap Aunt Hisako. Then this is a plan I just thought up. Feel free to input your opinion, and if possible, make it nastier. Azazel grinned, hearing the last part. Hisako and Raynare also grinning evilly, then wicked giggling could be heard from the traitor queen, while Issei stayed unfazed, but no one knew what was in his mind right now. The teenage nun can't help but smile wryly seeing the atmosphere in the room and decided to not to disturb them. She silently prayed to God to ask forgiveness for being powerless to stop the evil scene in front of her from happening. Azazel presented his plan to cut off Ria's escape routes from her marriage completely, but the plan was scrapped because they cannot save Akeno from her clutches. After that they made a new plan. In one way it can be seen as a lifeboat for the red-haired devil heiress, but it will be a nasty punishment. After the new plan is finalized, Akeno returns to Ria's side until the day she will be free. She gave her king a false report that she tried to curry favor from Issei, while making Udo and Kaneko the bad guys. The half-fallen also suggested to stop them from following Issei, since he can do anything nasty when no one is seeing. The next day, Issei reported the kidnapping incident to Sona. She was very disgusted by her childhood friend's act. Well, it was not uncommon for the high-class devil to do that sort of thing. She couldn't believe that someone from a respectable family that was famous for treating their servant fair did such a thing. Sona then proposed to Issei to join the student council. He accepted the offer, but with the condition that Asia and Raynare be allowed to wait anywhere close to him. Thanks for accepting my selfish request, Ice-kun, now we have manpower around here. It was tough with only girls around. Sona thanked Ice. It was hard for them to conceal their strength, after all, delicate-looking girls apprehended boys that had a notably bigger build than them would be weird. Men? Issei asked as Sona did imply that it was more than one. Sona smiled, yes, there's another one who will join the student council. I scouted him after you rejected my offer and he said that he accepted the terms yesterday. I see, I said flatly, making Sona a little bit displeased because she can't sense any jealousy from him, but considering his condition, she couldn't help but smile bitterly. By chance, is he Saji Jinshiro from class 2 to 5? Drake said that he had Vritra's sacred gear piece inside him. Issei asked. Yes, he's the one I scouted. It looks like you are not as ignorant as you look, Ice-kun. Sona smiled as she praised Issei. Not really, I just happened to pass him a few times. Tomorrow after school, I will introduce you and Saji-kun as the new members of the student council. I understand, Shitori Kaichu, Issei answered formally. Issei told Raynare and Asia about the negotiation earlier during their walk home. Will it be okay for us to stay close to the devil? I'm worried if she plants something in Asia. Raynare asked since she thought there's a good chance that Sona already learned about Asia's sacred gear. No problem. Sona-chan won't force someone unwilling to be a devil to join her. Issei replied. Raynare sighed at Issei's response and she decided to believe in him. If you said so, Issei-kun. Speaking of the devil, there's something that bothered me about the devil Asia healed that caused her exile. Raynare suddenly changed the topic after she glanced toward Asia. What do you mean, Raynare-san? Issei asked. There's no devil entering a heavily guarded monastery without good reason, Raynare answered. The holy maidens, especially with such sacred gear like Asia, were a valuable asset to the church, so their protection is a top priority, yet there was a devil that entered the monastery. So you mean that Asia-san was targeted from the start? Raynare nodded. That's what I think. If Asia-san's exile is part of the scheme, then she sent here also the same. There's a good possibility that this devil and a fallen angel with a ranking is working together. Asia stopped her feet from stepping further. Naturally, the young dragon and the former fallen angel stopped to look at the nun. Her body was shaking, she only wanted to help people, yet she was targeted because of her tool. Like when Issei kidnapped her, she was only able to tremble in fear. She is weak, so weak that she is only able to tremble in fear and resign herself to fate. She's feeble that she always needs to be protected. Asia already had enough of that, and she wanted to be strong to protect herself and her friends she made after enrolling a Kuo, because if she is weak, she cannot do anything to do that. Is there any way to be stronger? She asked with a determined face. Issei smelled unyielding determination from her. There is, but it will be harsh training, Issei answered. Can you train me, Issei-san, Raynare-san? Raynare smiled at Asia, who looked determined even though her tears-welling eyes from lamenting thought. The little holy maiden tried to stand on her own feet. Don't you think it would be a waste if we decline her request? Yes, but for training, it is better to consult Aunt Hisako, Issei said. He recommended Hisako because he never trained someone else, also because his aunt is a caring person. Thank you, Issei-san, Raynare-san. Later during dinner time, Issei told Hisako that Asia wanted to train her body and the reason why she wanted to do it. Do you really want to train, Asia-chan? Hisako asked. Asia put down her eating utensil and bowed her head toward Hisako. Yes. I don't want to be protected forever. She answered. Hisako had seen Asia's determined face before she bowed down, she couldn't help but want to help the nun. Then I have the condition before I train you. From tomorrow morning until next week, you will join me for jogging and will not complain about anything, Hisako stated. It is not good if Asia's determination only lasts for a short time, that's why she had to appear strict. Yes, Hisako-san. Then I joined too. I need to train the body I got from Issei-kun. Raynare also wants to join, she had no opportunity to try her body, so she decided to join them in the light training. You are always welcome, Raynare-chan, Hisako answered with a smile. Yes, I look forward to your guidance, Hisako-san, Asia said. The next morning, the ladies went jogging. 15 minutes from the start, Asia was already out of breath. Are you okay, Asia-chan? Yes, I still can keep going. Hisako, who heard Asia's barely able reply, decided to stop the jog to let Asia catch her breath. Let's take a break. If you push yourself too hard you will collapse later. Asia nodded and stopped. Hisako taught Asia the breathing technique so she could calm her breathing faster. Every time Asia regained her breath, they continued jogging. They repeated until the sunrise, and before returning home, Hisako and Raynare decided to race around the complex once with Hisako winning by large margin. I'm no match for you, Hisako-san, Raynare said while gasping for air. She used her full strength to run yet she cannot go past Issei's aunt. It is because you neglected your basic training, Raynare-chan. Even if your body trait is stronger than human, if you don't train properly you will be surpassed. Hisako. Yes, I'll keep that in mind. I usually neglected my training because most of my missions were intelligence gathering and seduction. Raynare said while ashamed of herself. At this rate, she would be a burden to Issei. I also need to train again, my stamina now also lower compared to years ago when I'm still active. Hisako said while stretching her body, she was absent doing heavy training ever since she sealed her memory after all. How strong were you when you were active, Hisako-san? Asia curiously asked, Raynare also curious about it, but Asia asked first. If I'm not wrong, I almost defeated Uncle Barakiel once. Hisako answered as she put her finger on her chin. Raynare's jaw dropped when she heard Barakiel's name being mentioned. He is a cadre with 10 wings which is only a few steps behind Azazel in strength, and Hisako almost defeats him. Asia also couldn't hide her surprise, since she was taken care of by Grigori, she at least learned the name of the leader and cadres. You fight on par with Barakiel-sama, Raynare screamed, half of her still can't believe that humans could be that strong. He didn't use his lightning magic by the way, well I went full force, I still couldn't defeat him. Hisako sighed after she said that, while Raynare who heard it still in awe because Hisako could keep up with the cadre, even when he didn't use his signature move which is Holy Lightning. Once again in her heart, she vowed that she would never make Hisako angry. Asia admired Hisako for being strong despite the fact that she was human and a woman on top of that. In her heart, she set Hisako as her goal. Let's go home. They nodded and returned home together. Arriving at home, they refreshed themselves in the bath and after that it enjoyed the breakfast Issei prepared for them. Later in the class, their classmates noticed that Asia was a little pale. Are you okay, Asia-san? You look very pale today. Murayama Chidis, who is the class rep, asked, thought that Asia might be sick. If you are sick, why don't you rest in the infirmary, Asia-san? The pink-haired beside Chidis asked. She was Chidis's best friend since they were together in Kendo Club, Katis Shinka. I'm alright, class rep-san, just. Is it just? Before Asia could answer, someone interjected. Maybe Haidu didn't let her sleep last night. Kiryuika suddenly joined the conversation with her perverted suggestion. I slept very well last night, though, Asia said while tilting her head to the side. She doesn't understand why Issei didn't let her sleep last night. They became dumbfounded because they thought how pure Asia is. Raynare, who was watching from the side, giggled when she saw their reaction. If you want to corrupt Asia, you should use the direct approach, Aika-chan. I'll keep that in mind, Yuma-san, Aika said as she let out a perverted smirk. Raynare decided to tease them some more, she hugged Asia from behind and said, besides, why Asia looks tired was because we did sweaty activity in the morning. Raynare smirked when she told them with words that could be easily misunderstood. Sweaty activity. The boys and girls who heard that were blushing hard, imagining that they did yuri lewd activity in the morning before going to school. Why do you guys look surprised? It's just jogging in the morning, Asia said while clueless about the other meaning of the sweaty activity. Raynare laughed when she saw their dumbfounded expression. I think you should stop with your jokes, Yuma-san, Issei warned his former fallen angel companion. Sorry, this is just too fun, Issei-kun, she said while trying to stop her laughter. Today, the student council will have new members, even though everyone already knows, for formality, please introduce yourself, Sona instructed the two boys who will join the student council. I'm Saji Jinshiro, Sona Kaichu's new pawn. Nice to meet everyone here. Saji confidently introduced himself. His appearance is not inferior to Issei with toned muscles that wrapped under his uniform. His hair is light brown colored and unkempt. I'm Haidu Issei. I will take the position as a general affairs officer. Please take care of me. Issei introduced himself in his usual flat tone. The girls clapped their hands while smiling before they introduced themselves one by one. Saji turned toward Issei after the introduction. Nice to meet you, Haidu, let's work together to make Sona Kaichu prosper, Saji said. He thought that Issei also reincarnated as devil since he joined the student council. Sorry to disappoint you but I'm not part of her peerage, Issei said to clear the misunderstanding. Saji widened his eyes in surprise. I declined to join her peerage, but she asked me to join the student council because of its lack of manpower here, Issei said. Saji smiled as he heard Issei's words. He raised his hand for a handshake. I see, regardless if you are a devil or not, let's get along. He said. Issei shook Saji's hand with an expressionless face. I look forward to working with you, Saji-san, Issei said. By the way, Haidu, why are the transfer students here? Is it okay for them to know the supernatural? Saji asked. He was curious about them since suddenly 2 transfer students transferred in and he heard the rumor that they live with Issei and the inappropriate rumors about them. It's alright. They understand the circumstances. Issei answered. Raynare, who heard Saji's question, moved closer toward them while smiling. Nice to meet you, Saji Jinshiro, I'm Amano Yuma, I'm a fallen angel. Raynare introduced herself. Saji was rather surprised that the fallen angel is in the same room as the devil, since he already learned about the basic knowledge. He became wary of Yuma, but since no one objected to her entering the room, he believes that there are special circumstances. Isn't the fallen angel the enemy of the devil? He asked. I'm no longer with the organization after my life was saved by Issei-kun, I decided to follow him, Raynare answered while smiling. She mixed lies within the truth, so her mission together with Issei didn't fail. Then, is she also a fallen angel? Saji pointed toward Asia. Asia shook her head, no, I'm a human, I'm Asia Argento, pleased to meet you Saji-san. Asia introduced herself, her cute smiles enough to make Saji's blood rush to his head. Oh, he said as he tried to suppress his blush. Since today only to introduce you two, you are free to leave now, Haidu-kun. Just remember to come 1 hour and a half earlier before the homeroom. Saji-kun, you need to stay for the basic work of the devil. Yes, Shitori Kaichu. Two of them answered together. After that Issei walked toward the door, the two following suit behind him. See you tomorrow everyone. Issei bid farewell for the last time. Weeks passed without Rias Gremory trying to do anything to them since Issei, Raynare, and Asia were close to Sona and always stuck together like glue, giving no chance for her to do anything similar to what she did in the past. One night, his phone suddenly rang. Sorry to disturb you this late, Haidu-kun. Akeno apologized for calling quite late at night. Is there anything important that needs to be said late at night? Issei asked. Yes. We will start the plan tomorrow. Akeno answered. After leaving Asia in Sona's care, Issei and Raynare went to the old school building led by Akeno. In front of the building, Issei could feel someone with a strong presence beside Rias and her peerage. They entered the building and headed straight toward the orc room. Akeno knocked on the door and the word come in resounded from inside. After Akeno had opened the door, the red-haired girl and lady with long silver hair wearing maid uniforms came to Raynare and Issei's view. The nasty smell of greed still etched to the Gremory, and now the rotten smell of manipulation also mixed in the fragrance. Issei decided to endure the smell for the sake of their plan. Seeing the unwanted guest, the maid released angry smell while glancing toward the teenage king. What is the meaning of this, Oju-sama? It can't be helped, Grafia, I already made the appointment long before, he should be the one who delays it. Rias brushed off with a light tone. The maid called Grafia only sighed seeing her young mistress's behavior. She walked toward Issei and Raynare who just entered the room. Greetings, I'm Grafia, Gremory House's head maid. I'm Haidu Issei, and this is Amano Yuma, pleased to meet you Grafia-san. Issei and Raynare bowed toward Grafia as he introduced themselves. Raynare was sweating since the one in front of her was the queen of Devil Lord Lucifer, who was entitled as the strongest queen. The maid could feel that the boy had sacred gear and the girl was a fallen angel, but at the same time, she was not. She felt that Raynare was different from half like Akeno, and she just couldn't determine what the former fallen angel was. What kind of business do you have with Rias Oju-sama? If it doesn't take a long time you have time to finish it before another guest arrives. Grafia said in a dignified tone. She tried to clear Issei and Raynare because there's a good chance that they will be a nuisance in the meeting with the guest. But it was too late, even before Issei said anything magic circle emerged in the room. Fire flickering as a man appeared from the middle of it. It's been a while since I visited the human world. The wild-looking gentleman with blonde hair appeared from the circle. Issei determined that he is Riser Phoenix, the heiress of Gremory's fiancé. Rias who saw his figure snarled in irritation. I've come to meet you Rias. Razor. Everyone present could feel the hate behind her tone, especially Issei who sniffed extra aroma released from her. I'm really sorry, but could you please return another day for your business with Rias-sama? Grafia bowed toward Issei and Raynare so they would leave and spare them from trouble with Razor. You can't do that to my guest Grafia. The one who should leave is Razor rather than them. The Phoenix then looked at Issei and Raynare. He was offended since he was less important than people who were not a devil. How awful of you Rias, how can a chummy human like them be more important than Razor? He intentionally provoked them, but Issei didn't change his expression. Well Yuma almost gave in to the provocation, but quickly calmed down. Well, Razor-san, we were here before you, as someone who is more important than a chummy human, then at least you should know how to be in line. Issei and Yuma agreed to meet with Gremory today because they need to stir a problem with Razor and purposely demonstrate the Dragon Boy's power to some extent to bait the Devil Lord to approach Issei to help him to free his sister from the marriage. Honestly, Ice just wanted to kill the Gremory heiress here and now. But that would make him a fugitive of the devil. That would definitely put his important people in danger. So he held back his desire and showed neutrality toward Rias. After all, there's no way he could achieve the goal if he was openly hostile. Why should I queue behind a lowly human? And don't casually call me by my name, trash. Razor shouted. Grafia observed two of them carefully. And quite surprising for her, rather than the boy, it was the girl who wore an angry expression. Then she knew that the boy was abnormal, like he was missing something. Well then Gremory-san, what would you do about this situation? Issei turned toward Rias and ignored Razor. I'm sorry, but could you two wait? I will deal with him swiftly so we can proceed to our business. Issei nodded as an answer. Udo, Kaneko, prepare the seats for them, Akeno, prepare snacks. Yes but you. Three of them answered and moved. Razor became even more offended with Ria's action. He knew that the boy had a sacred gear, and there's a possibility that he will be a thorn in his path to marry Rias. Not long after, Udo and Kaneko returned with a table and 2 chairs and put them in the corner. After that Akeno returned with a bowl filled with snacks and sweets and presented it on the table for Issei and Raynare. Dear customers, the table has been prepared, please this way. If you wear a maid uniform, it will be perfect, senpai. Raynare replied lightly to Akeno's little joke, then the pair of dragons moved toward their designated seats. Razor tried to protest, but after being silenced by the Queen of the Lucifer, he reluctantly ignored them. To summarize the meeting between Rias and Razor, Rias doesn't want to marry him because of their paralleled interest. Razor only wanted to marry the Gremory heiress for the prosperity of the devil, while Rias doesn't want to marry the Phoenix because she doesn't love him. Issei and Raynare were amazed by that. She readily does anything for her own interest. She tried to sacrifice others' freedom for her own. The dragon boy's anger toward Gremory flaring even more that he almost attacks her. Thankfully, the eye patch girl could calm him down before that happens. Then Grafia as mediator suggested a rating game between them with the condition that if Rias wins the engagement would be annulled, and if Razor wins they would marry immediately. Rating game is a game where high-class devils compete against each other. That game was also popular not only among devils, but also fallen angels. They watched it as a way to monitor the growth of the devils. But, now it was double as entertainment. Razor then summoned his peerage using a magic circle portal. 15 women came out of it and lined up. Raynare smiled wryly when she saw them, as Issei already told them about his peerage filled with girls and women, so they aren't surprised by that. The one bothered Issei was the fact that among his peerage, one had an identical smell with Razor, the fragrance of family. Ignoring that, the rating game match between the heir of Gremory and the son of Phoenix looked like a rigged match. The current peerage members that the Gremory had are only 3 people. 4 if the one that's sealed in the farthest room on the 2nd floor of the old school building included, they had to fight 16 people, and among them, there are 2 people came from the Phoenix family, the devil family that said inherited the limitless regeneration of the divine beast Phoenix, in other words, they are almost immortal. Their chance to win is close to nil yet, she fearlessly challenged Razor for it, she hoped that her brother would get her out of this mess. Issei thought that it's time to leave, there's nothing much else to observe. Uma-san, I don't think Gremory-san would have time for us, she had a more important appointment to attend. You're right. Issei and Uma stood up. Gremory-san, we will take our leave here, since there's no way we can continue to proceed with our business here. I hope you win against him so we can keep our business at a later time. Rias was flustered when they were about to leave, they didn't stir anything with Razor as she planned. I apologize to Grafia-san, you are right about this, we should leave earlier. I too, apologize for your inconvenience, Haidu-sama, Amano-sama. Grafia bowed toward 2 of them. They walked toward the door afterward. Rias wanted to stop them, but she can't expose her plan to Razor or Grafia. She was also cursing why Issei didn't even once stir a problem with Razor, even though he was looked down earlier in her mind. While walking toward the door, Raynare knew that this was the best time to drop the bomb that they already planned that night. Issei-kun, what do you want for dinner tonight? Somehow because of this meeting, I want to eat grilled chicken. Everyone in the room raised their eyebrows for different reasons when they heard Issei. The most visible reaction was from Razor, the blood already rushed into his head. What did you call me, trash? No one calls Razor grilled chicken and lives. He shouted as he conjured fire and threw it to burn Issei to ashes. Predicted where the flame will land, he summoned the boosted gear and deflected it toward Gremory's desk, which turned into ashes in no time, surprising everyone present as they widened their eyes in disbelief, since he could easily deflect the flame of a phoenix. Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet. No one called you a grilled chicken, Razor-san, or was that your nickname? You. Razor raised his voice and prepared another fire, bigger and stronger. But, the maid of Gremory decided to come between them. Razor-sama, any more rude behavior than this, I will have no choice but to subdue you, and he didn't call you grilled chicken, so cease your anger. Grafia said in a dignified tone. While grumbling, Razor put his hand down. That was a close one, Razor-san, if you heard Uma-san earlier, Rina Fangolf will descend once again. Everyone inside the room didn't understand the name of Rina Fangolf, except for the head maid. The former host of the same sacred gear that the brown-haired boy bear who almost drove the devil family that was almost immortal to the brink of extinction. She doesn't understand from where he learned that name, but he said it without hesitation in his speech, surely he had the power to back it up. He could be the perfect person in her lord's plan to save his sister. Do you think mentioning some unknown whore's name will scare me? Never. Razor shouted in rage. Being called a whore, the past host Rina Fangolf is currently shouting inside Issei's head to kill the phoenix here and now. Come on Issei-kun, if we stay any longer, the meat might sell out. Good day everyone. Raynare pulls Issei out of the room, and they quickly walk away from the building. Now we just hope that the maid will take the bait. It was really scary that the one there was the legendary Queen Graphia. I thought that I would be killed on the spot earlier. I won't let her kill you, Yuma-san. Raynare smiled at Issei's words. She knew that he would do it for real if Graphia or someone else tried. Yes, I know you will. She muttered while blushing. Let's pick Asia-chan up and go shopping. Next day, the Gremory heiress and her peerage were absent from school. According to Sona, after Issei and Raynare left, they decided to give Rias 10 days to prepare for the game. Sona was aware that just prolonging the inevitable defeat for Rias. But there's no sympathy left for her childhood friend anymore since she heard that she tried to enslave Issei by kidnapping Hisako. Now Sona sympathizes toward Razor instead if he wins the game and marries someone like the Gremory heiress. Inshiro was the person who suffered from the disillusion the most. The most admired person in the school was committing such a crime. A week after that, a certain red-haired man came to visit Issei's apartment to strike a deal that he will regret shortly. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the Farcast for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.